huge, pivotal game for these two teams to play. It could be the first time really that an upset has happened this split of the LCS in NA.
Absolutely. Team Liquid and the things they will have had to have overcome to win this game, feeling like they'd have to win 3 games in a row, because when the remake happened in Game 2, they did have a lead. But obviously, maybe it's the blue side and the pick ban advantage. Like, the first pick has held pretty big sway in both of these games. When it was Shen, the first pick for Cloud9, and when it was Trundle, the first pick for Team Liquid. Those have been really effective.
And there's an Azir ban, which isn't surprising from Cloud9. Definitely respecting the pick there. But Olaf is quite surprising there, taking that away from Dardoch. Vlad, the standard and expected ban here for TL. They might hit the Ryze. Maybe Viktor gets a look out, but Ryze would be the obvious ban. We'll see what plans TL have here, because you have to know that Jensen and maybe even Impact are happy to take it if it's left up, but TL are taking their time with this final ban.
Yeah, and with that Olaf ban, you're really trying to figure out what that's trying to block. Potentially because the Karma wasn't banned and they maybe didn't want to first pick Shen. They were a little worried of the Olaf Shen Karma thing that you can do. That's about all I can see, because that's not something Team Liquid's picked in this series. It is something they've played in the past, and that's the best I can think of as far as that ban coming through. At the very least, though, they get Ryze, and that's pretty important.
Yeah, Ryze for C9, because the Ashe was actually the final ban from Team Liquid. I wonder if Fabi decides to just pick up Sivir here. It was banned away, I believe, in Game 2. But Fabi got his hands on it in the first one. Can't imagine C9 are too afraid of the pick. We'll see what Team Liquid have in store here, because they pretty much knew they were giving away Ryze.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And the Braum has actually been a fairly banned champion throughout this series. This, again, cycles towards Team Liquid's team fighting. And the game they lost is when they had the inferior team fight composition, whereas last game, they were able to play the map well enough using the strength of being stronger 5v5. So expect them to go a similar route this time as they lock in both the Braum and the Rek'Sai.
Yep, picks locked in. Dardoch again, going to take Rek'Sai into battle. See if Meteos fancies the Graves pick again, or if maybe has something different in store. Looks like Kindred dropping a little bit perhaps, as she might be kind of tumbling away out of the metagame.
We don't switch patches until next week,
True.
I believe. So there's more Kindred Nurse in that patch. This is still a patch behind the live servers currently. But yeah, there's all the options really for C9 right here. They could just go with Shen. I feel like that would give them a lot of map pressure.
Ooh, I love it.
They go with Gragas.
Meteos gonna take the playmaking jungler, and there's actually the takeaway from Fabi. Sivir will go into Sneaky's hands. Fabi might just play the Jhin again, but will not get the Sivir that he might have wanted with the Team Liquid Ashe ban.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Team Liquid has what they feel to be pretty high priority picks with the Rek'Sai and the Braum, but that leaves the Sivir up. And then the fact that C9 picked Gragas kind of just tells me, well, this is all the priority picks they want. Now they just want to react as much as possible with their other solo laner and their support.
Well, I do like that Cloud9 are maybe thinking, you know what, we're going to take a bit more team fighting perhaps into the mix, because they kind of know that TL sort of outdid them there in that particular instance. Viktor, though, the obvious pick for Phoenix. Fabi will go back to the Jhin, so everything is normal for now as Lourlo looks like he'll get the counter pick there for top lane. Not obvious just yet, but will be, of course, once C9 finish these picks.
Right, Shen's still available. His Irelia has been good, even though it seems to have fallen out a little bit of favor. Everyone thought it was going to kind of take off with the Trinity Force buffs, but it seems to get fairly neutralized in a lot of matchups, and then still isn't super strong in team fighting. Speaking of team fighting, that's what you say Cloud9 has a lot of right now. Do they go with Shen, or do they go with more of a carry in that lane? Or do they throw Ryze up there and pick a different mid laner for Jensen?
Yep, options here certainly for Cloud9. But Reaper, you can see it on your screen, always with a steely gaze. Gonna have to decide what he wants. Sneaky looking to pick Bunny FuFuu, of course. Back into the lineup. I'll be selecting Bunny FuFuu, big playmaker. He's gonna go to Bard perhaps, but maybe the Irelia takeaway here for Impact.
Yeah, they preempt the Irelia pick with Shen still on the board. So really, they're looking for, this looks like a double TP team to me, where they're gonna try and set up Gragas, Sivir, Bard stuff with either Irelia or Ryze teleporting in, and a lot of splitting around the map. So does Team Liquid just go Shen to try and neutralize this? Shen is usually the natural pick into the Irelia, and it's obviously up on the board, of course.
Yep, and there it is. Lourlo takes the obvious pick. Again, I think Cloud9 knew what they were getting into, but power shifted a bit into Impact's hands. Sneaky certainly going to do plenty of work on the Sivir, but is, like a lot of AD carries in the current metagame, more of an enabler than anything else. Funny FuFuu being back on the Bard, good takeaway from that, maybe gives Cloud9 a bit more of an edge in some of these fights. But this is sort of what we come to expect, given the current state of the game. I think both teams at some point are going to run at each other, and I'm not sure who wins, at least based on drafts.
Exactly. They both picked relatively good team fighting compositions. I feel like Team Liquid had so much success with Jhin and Rek'Sai getting picks in the last game, and they also got Fenix onto Viktor once again, which is super important. But this is also Ryze for Jensen, plus the ability of Meteos to gank the lanes could be really brutal. So maybe we see a really snowballed game. If one of these teams gets ahead, they're going to be able to dictate. But if not, as you mentioned, them running into each other, you're not really sure who's going to win. So a really exciting game 3 in winner-take-all here.
Certainly is. And before we settle this tie, show off your smarts by calling the outcome of this match on Twitter. Register your vote by sending out the hashtag C9win or the hashtag TLWin as a final game to play between these two. Cloud9 look like a top 3 team in North America. Team Liquid looking to maybe create themselves up to the ever-present spot towards that top 4. This is a step in the right direction if they can beat C9 here.
Yeah, it really is. And would be the first really top team they would have been able to beat, because currently Team Liquid is sitting at 4-4, suffering defeats to Envy, TSM, COG, and Immortals, which are teams you typically expect them to lose to, even though COG would technically be the only team below them in the standings they've lost to. They've beaten Echo Fox, Phoenix One, Energy, Apex. Really, this is a defining game for Team Liquid of whether or not they are in the upper echelon of LCS teams or whether they're towards the bottom.
And it couldn't come at a better time. We always talk about the Liquid storyline. It seems like they're constantly rising. The joke might be over, because this could be the game that decides it. Almost smack bang in the middle of the split as well. If Team Liquid want to have a big dream run towards the back end of the season, your time starts now. But Cloud9 have not been in the habit of dropping games recently. They are not interested in dropping this one, as the teams move out onto Summoner's Rift. Just a fan out for now. Looks like everyone's in standard positions, but we'll see if they mix things up around the level 1.
Yeah, maybe we get a blind swap of some kind, because for one game, they actually haven't done the deep warding. They did get spotted out by each other with the very early wards, which is why I feel like Cloud9 is swapping back, but Team Liquid is also blind swapping up, so we will end up getting the inverted lanes, so to speak. And once again, they have deep wards out into the river, which would generally be able to show you if a team is interrupting your Krugs or your Gromp take. And we should see fairly standard, although it looks like the Bard Sivir do get spotted. They're going to have to go to harass this, and this should push Team Liquid off of it.
This is quite a fun game of chicken. There's Team Liquid actually hanging out. Sneaky doesn't have a ward. Actually going to get tagged up. Ignites down. Force the fly. Matt goes in. There's a stun. Stairlight's in as well from Fabi at level 1. And Sneaky.
Oh, no.
Gives first blood away. And Fabi's reloaded. But FuFuu going to get stunned up as well. Damage is still there. That'll force a flash. And that went horribly wrong for Cloud9.
It really did. And it didn't have to. Basically, that was because Cloud9 was trying to get too much done, and they tried to check multiple things at once, but they have to predict that there's going to be a ward there that they walk over, and when they split up, they lose their advantage. It's against Braum, Jhin. They can chain the CC expertly there, as Fabi had skilled up his W, which was genius after the flash to be able to catch him. And yeah, Team Liquid plays that right, but C9 make a big risk, and Bunny has no flash.
Almost eats it again as Impact and Lourlo doing battle here in the bottom side. Lourlo's level 2. Impact is taking way too much damage here. Gets back towards his tower. But Lourlo, with the early XP lead, somehow in the matchup, manages to manipulate the wave and get an early edge. C9 starting to fall apart a little in the laning phase. That is not their MO.
Yeah, a very poor way to start game 3, since this is the all-important game of the series. But Meteos going to try and get a little bit of this back. He's done a very quick 3-camp, red buff, coming in behind Lourlo.
Jungle is the great equalizer. Meteos can line it up. Lourlo's already taunted out of the way. Beautiful flash from Meteos, and that's the answer.
Exactly what Meteos is supposed to do. Lourlo taunts early. The only way out would be a flash. Meteos knows he's going to wait for the end of the taunt to flash, and the prediction there by Meteos was perfect to lock down Lourlo and get the kill back.
Well, things equalize here as action is thick and fast in the first 3.5 minutes of this game. Sneaky, though, still struggling a little here. Going to get zoned out after Fabi and Matt got the early lead. And Dardoch hunting in this area. Let's watch this again, though.
Yeah, this is just an expert Gragas player at work. Lourlo taunts away. He had such a small window to get that flash in. And the only way, it's part reactive, but mostly predictive. Meteos was expecting it, so he was hovering the expected flash location of Lourlo, and he does it just at the right time to get the stun in.
Well, you can see the vote there is equalized a little.
Bunny's
Only
in trouble.
70-69, but Bunny's going to get stunned here. Umbaro's there, stun lands, and that's the easiest kill of his life.
Yeah, and now Sneaky's in a lot of trouble. Sneaky has no minions, or sorry, no summoner spells with a few minions coming in. Meteos is going to try and help, but this is 3, maybe 4 people moving in.
Well, now he has Spell Shield. I wasn't sure if he had it before, but feel a little safer now as he hits level 3. Team Liquid to back away from the play, but that was the right idea. And again, that aggression they've shown off ever since dropping that very slow game 1. Team Liquid have just come out guns blazing. Team seems energized in this final game, and that's great news for Team Liquid.
Yeah, it's like what it would mean to be able to beat Cloud9 in the series like this also. This is a Team Liquid that seems to work very heavily off momentum. They always have those like season-defining or split-defining wins. I feel like last split it was against Echo Fox when they were down 10,000 gold, and then they fought their way back into the game and were able to win, really turned their split around. This season, even though they started very poorly, again, they started their turnaround against Echo Fox. But I feel like if they can win this against Cloud9, who has been a team on such a rise, if they can take them down in such a hard-fought best-of-3, it would do so much for their confidence, especially with Fabi in the lineup as well, proving that they can do stuff, you know, without Piglet too.
And that's been the thing for me is that, you know, Team Liquid, in a lot of ways, are a surprisingly young team. A lot of players that really made Ryze in last split were rookies that came up from TLA. Dardoch, one rookie of the split.
Yep.
And now comes in, you know, into his now sophomore season effectively, but still as a very new player into the LCS. It's not surprising to me that TL are sort of maturing and getting better over time, because that is something you expect of a young team, but if they need a big confidence boost and a break point, this game may very well be it. And a young team starting to grow up could be bad signs for the top 4 teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just makes, hopefully, the second half of the split all the more interesting. Because I personally loved the best of 3s so far, but one thing we've noticed is there's been very few upsets. Like, the teams that are expected to win usually win, save for CLG coming in as defending champs and struggling. But yeah, anything is possible. TL, 1,000 gold lead, 6 minutes in.
It's not bad, as we're going to continue watching things here. Fenix did take the blue buff, so he'll return to a very even lane. Seems like him and Jensen have just been trading farm more than anything else. Sneaky still about 10 CS behind, though. So Fabi and Matt able to play aggressive as he actually goes back and gets himself a BF sword. So good little bit of power there for Jhin. And Impact with a bit of pressure from Meteos up slightly onto Lourlo with that fade. We'll see if he can continue and be getting aggressive in that
hello,
lane.
he just body slammed over. Dardoch's going to try and return a lot of damage.
Meteos does not have flash. There's a great snare from Fabi, but Meteos going to live it. Dardoch going to be patient and take that camp. Level 6 for Irelia, though. Lourlo going to get chunked out here. Does taunt out of the way. Impact does have a flash. He gets the last blade in, but needed the Q cooldown. Did not have it back.
Yeah, but that's bad news bears for Lourlo right there, because this is what decided the first game, essentially. There was very even map movements going, but because Impact consistently beat Lourlo in those 1v1s, C9 was able to pull it back. But he has Shen this time. He can teleport. He can get level 6 shortly, and he got Impact's ultimate. So now Lourlo trying to trade back in the minion wave.
Great Spirit's Refuge. That minion wave doing work, and Lourlo cleanly wins a trade there. Impact, though, just going to heal up. Got some potion charges left and has his TP to come back pretty much whenever he likes. You just don't die is the only thing you need to do in the interim.
Yeah. And Jensen threatening the flash on Burrow from Dardoch. And to speak to that Irelia Shen matchup as well, it's potentially better for Lourlo this time, because even if Irelia gets ahead, it's not some hyper-scaling split pusher, where Lourlo will be able to tank up and at least avoid dying later in the game.
Jensen in the gravity field actually continuing to go in, but does get some trades onto Fenix. Fenix stands his ground though and keeps it, but Dardoch gonna ride in with the Shen. Sneaky, tagged up by the slow. He's gonna get unbarred and stunned. Lourlo kills him after he's surfacing with the ulti.
And that Shen for you. So much global pressure. Impact could have teleported in, but they were vastly outnumbered. And Team Liquid is outpacing Cloud9 consistently since that first game. They've really picked up the tempo. It is on Impact, though, to take advantage of this, because Lourlo had already teleported back in lane, and now he's Shen ulted in, maybe even unnecessarily. Sneaky didn't use summoner spells because the Shen was there and he couldn't have escaped, but they might not have even needed them for that kill. He gives Impact a couple of free waves. Impact now has a teleport advantage, and Lourlo falls even further behind in experience.
Yep, some CS being denied. Turret took a good chunk of damage as well, so Impact doing nicely there in that particular matchup so far. Dardoch, though, on top of a ward. We're going to try and gank Jensen, who's awfully low on mana with no teleport to speak of. Not a super safe place to be, but Meteos coming. maybe a bait is on the horizon. Oh, he's spotted though. Tremor Sense doing some work there for Dardoch. And he's still not done.
Yeah, this could be very dangerous for Team Liquid if they go too heavy on in this gank without having swept the correct spots. But he's fine.
Yeah, Dardoch just tunnels out. Both teams actually have a ward there, which maybe they don't know yet. Yeah, all supports have come down as well. That's a real defense of the blue buff.
Yeah, they really care about that move. They were hoping to catch Jensen, who's very low. Even now, Jensen just doesn't have the mana to do much. I tell a lie. Ryze always has mana. He just has so much of it when he's low on it. He's still got several hundred.
Yeah, Tier doing work there as well for the changes. But Jensen actually does get it, and now we'll get the blue buff. Impact though back in onto Lourlo. Spirit's Refuge out. But now goes back in for it. Well played by Impact, but a nice taunt from Lourlo. Could keep him alive for a little longer. Starting to lose trades, which is kind of what we expect, but it's how far behind does Lourlo fall that we'll have to see in the next few minutes.
Exactly, and how quickly can he stack armor up? I mean, he's clearly going for the Sunfire Cape first, but he started with the Balmy Cinder to try and wave clear. Maybe that wasn't necessarily the best call because he wants to be at his turret. He's never going to get dove at his turret. With the Balmy Cinder, he's constantly pushing, and that's putting him in danger of Impact harassing him down. Once he gets armor and Sunfire Cape, I feel like he'll be all right.
Well, struggling a bit for now, but we'll see how the matchup plays out as the minutes roll on. Dardoch top side clearing things out. Seen a lot of attention actually towards that 2v2 in the top lane. Sneaky's died a couple times already, once at level 1, and after a great gank by Dardoch and Lourlo, a second time there. But pressure seems to be off for now. Fabi with a big CS lead as a result, though. Sneaky pretty much playing catch-up for the first 10 minutes of this game, because things really did go badly from level 1.
They really did. I mean, and it also kind of speaks to Team Liquid's ability to focus in these last few games. They put a lot of resources in early into Jensen. This is Team Liquid trying to shut down Jensen in their victory. And this game, even though Sneaky made a mistake early on by splitting up from Bunny FuFuu, Team Liquid has really heavily tried to just exploit that one weakness and turn it into a massive advantage. So far, pretty good, but the game definitely not in their hands yet. No Drakes have been taken, still a minor gold lead, and Sneaky, at least for now, is able to farm.
Yep, looking okay. 1,000 gold lead still there for Team Liquid, but they've held that for the last few minutes. Checking in quickly with mid lane itemization. Renovator's almost done for Jensen, as he's going to scoop out a wave of minions. Fenix, though, another blue buff for himself. Going to return to lane and continue farming away. Again, sort of expecting these mid laners to want to scale up towards the early mid-game power points, and they will scale well into the mid-game as late game, sorry, as well. But gonna need to get there first. As TL finally with a minion wave pushed to their turret in this top side. Looks like Sneaky is able to clear a good bit of ground there on the Sivir.
Yeah, I mean, when Sivir gets BF Sword and a few levels, very easy to just power clear that minion wave, which makes it harder to really shut down the Sivir unless you're actually freezing. But we talked about how difficult it is to freeze nowadays with all the pressure that can happen on the rest of the map.
Struggle still in this bottom lane. Good taunt again, but doesn't carry him to the turret. Does for one shot, actually. The Transcender Blade's out. Impact can heal up a bit. Lourlo just trying to take trades where he can, which is kind of all he can ask for at this stage of the matchup. Does have that chain vest that you mentioned, though, so things getting a little bit easier.
Yeah, down 30 CS, but still actually won that trade, despite Impact using his ultimate. Dardoch really looking to get a pressure move in the jungle, but Meteos has been surprisingly resilient to this counter jungling.
Yep. Dardoch is up in CS as a result. Looks like blue buff is the highly contested objective so far. Clouddrake feeling awfully lonely in the bottom half of the map, but Cloud9, they know they need to feed Ryze these blues. Jensen going to go back. Rod of Ages should be finished by now, and his teleport's ready to go if he absolutely needs to get back to lane at instant speed. Yep, there is the Rod of Ages done. Cloud9, faith as always in their mid lane, and there's a big spike for Impact as well. Trinity Force done. So the two solo laners with big points of power to try and play with. We'll see if Impact can carry this lead that he's built up for himself with a bit of help from Meteos at the start.
Yeah, and maybe he uses that Trinity Force to try and make some big plays happen throughout the map. Like, there's a ward in the Tri-Brush right now that potentially C9 could double TP on if Fabi and Matt push up beyond the halfway point in the lane. Here they're doing it, double TP.
Yep, here's the play. Matt and Fabi need to be careful. Bunny FuFuu with the ulti disables the turret. Now
let's go!
Meteos forces a flash, but Fabi's not going to get ulted on by Shen. Impact straight into the backside, but Jensen dishing out damage where he can. Re-engage right from Lourlo, finds the taunt for two. Under the turret there for Jensen, and he is going to go down to Dardoch. Meteos now getting chased, but Lourlo low. Sneaky out in the magical journey, gets himself to safety. No, it's not. Matt finds him with the tag. There's the flash out under the snare, but Dardoch flashes forward. Meteos re-engaging, but a huge cosmic binding lands on a two, and Phoenix arrives. Dardoch gets himself a kill. Sneaky going to get played Cloud down as well. Meteor stunned under his turret, and that's another one. Team Liquid with a big team fight win, and Bunny gonna keep running.
Still going. 4 kills for Team Liquid right there. And it is so impressive how they continually turn Cloud9's aggression on its head. The double teleport dive, and C9 get nothing. Not only did Cloud9 invest all of their playmaking on that play, the play is made against them, putting them into an even larger hole. What a turnaround by Team Liquid.
And let's watch it again. C9 can see what they wanted to do. You called the play before it happened.
Yeah.
And it started so well and ended so badly.
Yeah, because technically Team Liquid's not in position to do this. They have a Shen and the Rek'Sai on the wrong side of the map. Rek'Sai ults in, so does Shen onto Fabi. And Matt stays alive. The Gragas ultimate gets blocked by the shield, so it automatically knocks him backwards. Then Lourlo gets a huge taunt in, and Fabi Jhin ults. He's so good at Jhin ulting at the start of fights. That's what he needs to do when they're getting dove like that. And all the way from base, Viktor is coming. Matt and Dardoch continue to put some damage on. Ryze is already dead and Sneaky is behind. So there's not that much damage in this fight. So Team Liquid's able to continue pushing. And then the guts to continue this dive. Notice how Matt takes 4 turret shots and Fenix only takes 1 on the back end, which allows him to continue pushing. Second turret shot at the very end didn't matter. But wow, what a momentum swing for Team Liquid.
Funny FuFuu, a clutch binding to keep himself alive right towards the very end of it. Otherwise, that would have been an ace for Team Liquid at under the 15-minute mark. Lourlo certainly feels like he's caught up now. Kill and a couple of assists for himself. And Cloud9, all that momentum gone. Team Liquid up almost 3,500 gold at the early stages. An impact under the turret. Meteos here looking for the dive, though. But Lourlo's pretty tanky. Pops up the refuge, and good luck.
I mean, Meteos is still going to go for it.
He's going. Lourlo, little too squishy still. Damage is there, and impact will get the kill. Well played, Meteos.
You can see how difficult it is, though, for an Irelia to kill the Sunfire Cape Shen, but Meteos obviously still has high base damages on Gragas, can jump in there for the burst, and now they go for Team Liquid in the mid lane.
Big old bunny FuFuu, sneaky touches up, is over the binding, misses Phoenix, gravity field's down, damage is there from the Viktor, they might turn it around, Jensen does fall there, and Bunny's lucky to be alive. Sneaky will get Phoenix on the back end, but that's a trade that should have been a clean win for C9.
Yeah, and a rare misplay by Bunny on a strictly mechanical move. Usually his timings are perfect on Bard and Thresh and being able to chain CC, but he mistimed his Cosmic Binding when coming out of the Tempered Fate, and that opened up a window for that kill to be traded back. So C9 making some big plays because Team Liquid, after a massive counter, left themselves open to a few more plays, but a slight miscalculation keeps it less favorable for Cloud9.
Yeah, and this game starting to get pretty crazy. Hands right out in front as teams are throwing punch after punch. Fabi does claim the outer turret in the bottom lane. So TL now up 2 turrets to 1 as a watch Bunny's great initiation once again. Yeah,
zooming through after picking up all those meeps, lands a Bard ult on 2, and just Cosmic Binds a little early. Stops them from stunning Phoenix. They do root him, but that means he can use his full burst right back onto Jensen. And that last auto attack sneaks through to finish him off. That was very nearly another dive gone wrong for C9, but they do pick up the 1.
Yep, they trade the kill back and shorten the gold lead a little bit. Still up for about 3k though for Team Liquid as Phoenix continuing to roll on. Gets himself another blue buff and going that same build we saw from the Viktor last game. Right, that should be coming up after those 2 Hex Core upgrades as Team Liquid are finally interested in the Cloud Drake. I tell a lie, they're looking for a kill.
Yeah, I mean, they can get him.
Bunny knocked up again, Magical Journey's out, but he might make it a safety. Fabi with a bullet lands on a Bunny. There's the second as the stun's good. And Sneaky lucky to be alive as well.
One unfortunate thing about the Magical Journey is it will tell you where he is going to be. And Fabi aims at the end of the Magical Journey, gets another kill onto Bunny, and extends the Team Liquid advantage.
Well, Drake also goes over to Team Liquid, so they'll pick up the first one of the game. Not nearly as explosive as their Drakes in the last game, but they'll take it as the next Drake will be a Mountain Drake. Curious to see what happens there. Ooh. C9, though, could open up for the Rift Herald.
Yeah, this is really big. It takes them a little while to do Rift Herald. It's 18 minutes in, though, so it's going to fall a little bit faster. This would be the ideal time for it because Impact could have the buff until 38 minutes, but Team Liquid doesn't want this to happen. Lourlo has ultimate, and C9's not making this mistake again.
Yep. They do not want to face check a very aggressive Team Liquid. Phoenix still in the mid lane. Could rotate over any moment, so smart there from C9 to not take it, but it'll phase out in a few minutes and they won't get it at all. Impact, who probably wanted to extend that lead in that matchup, might not get a chance to. C9 just defending that mid lane turret. They do successfully do so for now. But Team Liquid again, despite how close the game is, they do have a lead, but the pressure seems to be in Team Liquid's hands.
Really is, because Cloud9's plays have backfired a little bit. They still need to be able to force these because they technically have lane pressure with impact over Lourlo for now. And a lot of it would be on Bunny FuFuu landing a good Tempered Fate to allow C9 to run in. But having that play not necessarily work a few times in a row makes them a little bit gun-shy, and I feel like that gives Team Liquid time to make the counter plays. Not to mention, Shen, great at countering. Fabi is always positioned so far back on Jhin because he's pretty much just using his ultimate and his long-range W as his entire kit right now, unless he's being really dove on. Making it really hard for C9 to make plays.
I mean, it's funny, very utility-focused bottom lane here, but it's certainly working out for Team Liquid because Dardoch and Fenix are more than making up for the dive team at this stage. Jensen again snared up. They're going to go straight in for it. Ulti's out there from the Braum, but the Barn ulti does not protect them enough. Phoenix goes in as now Meteos gets knocked up and is forced to flash out. Team Liquid going to knock down mid turret as well.
Yeah, and once again, this long-range initiation is just beautiful. Fabi chaining 1cc into the rest of Team Liquid's damage, and they're just continually punishing C9. One thing that happened there, though, is Lourlo did ultimate down, so that gives Impact a little bit of time to push top.
Well, tower does fall after the play, so a kill there onto Jensen and a tower for their trouble. Break the key mid lane structure. Impact not able to finish off that top side. Lourlo there in time with the teleport still ready. There's pressure also down the bottom lane, but Sneaky has to bail with absolutely no vision of the rest of Team Liquid. Phoenix comes down. He'll collect the wave that Sneaky pushed towards him. But Team Liquid just making so much use of the Rek'Sai Jhin combo. Preyseeker is aptly named in this composition.
Yeah, and the one saving grace for Cloud9, despite all the kills that have been going through, is their wave pressure. But watching this fight one more time, Matt hits the Q, and then everything else is just piled on top. Jensen flashes and still isn't able to stay alive. Then the ultimate comes in from Shen onto Dardoch to make them flash away to safety. It's going to be very difficult for Cloud9 to make plays here.
Starting to get a little out of reach for Cloud9. Team Liquid, 4,000 gold up now. No Drake to get just yet, but they're kind of prepping for the vision in the area. They'll take out the Scuttle. Fabi's going to move down to the bottom lane now. He's got a rapid fire cannon to kind of accentuate his long-range Jhin playstyle.
Staying as far back as possible, man. And it's working for him. Maxing Deadly Flourish as well on Jhin. I need to touch up on my Jhin builds. I've seen a lot of them max Q, but the W max definitely working for his playstyle
yes,
right now.
That's exactly what I was going to say. May not be standard, but certainly working for Fabi in the way Team Liquid do want to play a lot of these initiations. Rift Herald off the map, by the way. Baron is now spawned, of course, because we're 21.5 minutes almost into the game. So Impact did not get a chance for that buff. Team Liquid did a great job deflecting that attempt. And again, it still feels like they're in control. Cloud9,
Yeah.
how are they going to find their way back into this game and even it up?
And it has to be through playmaking. And it just becomes even more difficult because if we think about how Team Liquid got here in the first place, it was the reversal of the Cloud9 play attempt. But you're running a double TP team if you're Cloud9. You have Irelia and Ryze. You're all about flanking and forcing some nice teleport plays. So here, their double TP actually runs bottom lane, and they're going to try and go for a kill on Lourlo. This would be a start of something good if they can get it.
There's the snare. Equilibrium Strike lands in. The Blade Surge follows. And now Transcendent Blade's picking away at Lourlo. Not enough left, though. Impact does have to move away, but Cloud9 are here.
Yep, and now the counter attempt.
Oh, good ulti. I think tried to hit onto Fabi. Cancels the rest of those shots. Fabi just pulled the ulti out and walked away.
Yeah, Lourlo still hasn't healed, so he had to go all the way back to base. A little bit preemptive on Team Liquid for trying to go for that initiation. Although it is very troubling for Cloud9. They burn their... well, they don't burn really anything, but you can see the double solo laners unable to take down Shen. And since the rest of Team Liquid is grouping up, the picks become questionable for what C9 would be able to do.
And this push looking okay. Bunny FuFuu actually clears some things out with the Meeps as Meteos and Dardoch having a duel. Matt there to protect his jungler, but Meteos kind of losing the early end of that trade. C9 though able to hold some turrets for now. Good spell shield from Sneaky prevents some of the early dive pressure, but not the turret being taken. Team Liquid in position, knock down a fourth turret.
Oh, Sneaky nearly bursted.
Oh, that W almost enough. Needs a bit more damage, but doesn't have it. And Bunny, oh, it hurts. The Ryla's doing work there for Viktor.
Woo. They get both summoner spells as well, so really just so much long-range threat coming out of Team Liquid right now. And they continue to take map pressure. And that is one thing. Impact picking Irelia blind, Lourlo easily picking the Shen into it, and he's losing the lane horribly in CS. But the matchup is so survivable for the Shen that really Impact hasn't been able to do much in this game.
Yeah, not yet at least. Although Jensen does pick up his Seraph, so power's starting to come on for a lot of the C9 carries, but like we keep mentioning, Cloud9 are kind of running out of time to make that play we talk about. It gets to a point where that one play that you want to make to catch up kind of turns into 2, then 3, then 5, and then the game ends. Cloud9 do not have unlimited time to make this game work unless they want to go super late and try and win it then, and I don't think they want a coin flip for this final game.
Exactly, and even then, you're just like, would they really scale better? The Irelia, I don't think scales as well as Shen in the late game. Viktor and Ryze both are amazing. Sivir technically can hyperscale, but that requires a perfect team fight, and Team Liquid's fighting from such long range that they can't get these things. Like, I think you could make the argument that Team Liquid is stronger in the late game, but Cloud9 would just really need to make picks. So, more favorable towards Cloud9, and Dardoch is still everywhere.
Yeah, Dardoch is just monstering people. Has a Titanic this build time around as well. Sneaky caught out maybe. Dardoch looks for the flash and doesn't get it.
Yeah, big miscalculation there by Dardoch to flash on Burrow and not get the knockup. That's a pretty critical misplay, actually, because that's one of his big initiation tools.
Well, doesn't find it then, but Team Liquid pressure still there. Impact hanging out on the bottom side, but Lourlo just here to clean things out. And Team Liquid, 4-man strong, shoving down mid once again. Might even look to break here, as Impact knows he kind of has to be with his team more. And Liquid do back away. They're going to consolidate resources back to the Mountain Drake instead.
Yeah, they're going to cash in their map pressure for Drake. They send everyone there. It gives C9 some breathing room. C9 is able to run out of their base, get some wards around the Baron area. But I think the investment is worth it. 25 minutes in, the Mountain Drake becomes very critical because they need to be able to threaten Baron, Dragon, and turrets more quickly.
Team Liquid still in control. Matt maybe caught, but he hops out to safety. Bottled, big bunny. Lines up the stun, doesn't get Phoenix. Now Shen's going to ride into the ulti. Impact now taking damage. And Meteos with the ulti tries to keep his team alive, but Lourlo's here in the house. Dardoch now unstoppable. He takes out Irelia and Bunny. FuFuu going to get chased down. He flashes out after the unburrow. Jensen just trying to get Lourlo and Fabi off his tail, but he can't do it. He'll flash out from under the taunt, and that might get him to safety. But now Meteos is in trouble. Long range stay, not enough. Jensen again dodges out, but Phoenix going to chase him down. Meteos now caught out 1v5, and he's dead. Phoenix grabs the double.
And I think the stomp is on right now. 7,000 gold. They keep running down C9, and even when it seems like C9 catch TL out of position, they just do not have the damage right now, and Team Liquid just crushed them as the collapse happened from that team fight. Looks like this Baron is all but Team Liquid.
Meteos not alive to steal it this time around. Dardoch will be able to smite this one away. Doesn't even have it. Doesn't need it. As Fabi gets the last hit on the Baron, and Team Liquid approach a real big breaking point.
They're going again.
Breaks it with the Prey Seeker. Spell shield off. Lourlo's here. Goodbye, Sneaky.
Yeah, you mentioned breaking point. The game might be broken right now. Continually cycling deaths onto Cloud9 really feels like the momentum is continually in Team Liquid's favor right now. Dardoch is unstoppable. Phoenix is huge. Fabi is contributing very well. And really, if you take out the first game of this series and you count like the 5,000 gold they had in the game that was remade, this has been Team Liquid 3 early games in a row beating Cloud9.
Yeah, and that one game where Team Liquid honestly looked like they play a little scared. We talked about the adjustments they've made them, and now storming into C9's base. This tower is not defensible, and it falls down. I don't think it's inhibitors either. Cloud9 have almost run out of options at this point.
Yeah, 10,000 gold, just like that, 26 minutes in, and the items will continue to pour in for Team Liquid, whereas Jensen and Sneaky are still woefully far behind when compared to Phoenix and Fabi. Watching this fight again, Jensen's on a pink ward, so the start is nice. Obviously, he gets his Braum ultimate up, though, so that blocks a lot of Sneaky's damage. And then they can't chain on Phoenix. He did flash immediately, so it's nearly impossible to chain that in. But he gets the ultimate down with Ryze. That basically kills Impact. Fabi then arrives, and that hits Jensen with the Root from Deadly Flourish. Lourlo then just keeps pace on him, and like the rest of C9 is trying to run away because really everyone is untouched and the damage is already gone for C9, so they can just continue to chase people down. Jensen has to juke backwards. A nice juke from the Jhin, but that puts him right into the claws of Phoenix. Meteos, as well as full tank Gragas, really has no threat and is stuck between the rest of the team. Dardoch feels good about that one.
Yep. Pat and Phoenix on the back as Phoenix has gone a little bit off this game. 5-1-3. The Rabadon's now finished. If there was ever a statement saying, I want this game to end, it is this Viktor build. Phoenix has decided that he's not interested in losing any more games. No prisoners being taken this time around. Team Liquid have such a big lead.
Yeah, 622 ability power. Very offensive Viktor build. Dardoch has gone Warmogs, 4,000 health. That'll increase the damage from his Titanic Hydra, since it scales off of bonus health. And Lourlo with the Baron buff is a huge split push threat against the Irelia. Team Liquid executes properly, they can end this game short.
Lourlo almost looked to dive with a bit of help from the Baron Dart minions. Impact cannot win that particular 1v1. Cloud9 have Supermins to worry about in the mid lane. Their turrets are starting to get attacked from both sides. There's a Mountain Drake up in a few minutes. Everything is going Team Liquid's way, and Cloud9 need something pretty close to a miracle, if not an actual miracle, to try and save this game.
Yep, Impact had to go back to base. It looks like C9 is going to try one desperate initiation. Look for Bard ult and then attempt to engage.
They've got it ready to go. Do they look for it?
I feel like they have to. They're going to lose an inhibitor on the other side. Team Liquid knows this. They're not giving them the window.
Yep, smart play from Team Liquid. Just playing push and pull. Know that Lourlo has the pressure. Almost a rank 3 ulti as well, just to make it even sweeter. Impact comes back down, but again, he can't challenge. Gonna try. Lourlo says no.
Yeah. By the way, you can't hit me when I press this button. That helps. He also regens pretty well at the moment. Sneaky's in base.
This is it. There's the Bard ulti. They got Fabi and Fenix, but they can't follow in for it. Fabi gets snared up, but Meteos just getting taken out. And there's Lourlo in. Who's he going to look for? Taunt misses, but they've broken the turret. That might not matter. C9 trying to kite as best they can, but they're sort of out of buttons to use.
Yeah. Team Liquid missed a lot of skill
Sneaky.
shots.
Dardoch goes straight in for him, and Sneaky's forced to flash out of the way. Meteos gets one in. Lourlo CC'd into the backside. They might be able to get it. Impact takes out Fabi on the back line. 2v1 right now, now 1v4. Cloud9 I think might hold, but Impact, I don't think you can live. Dardoch's gonna chase him down, and Impact's gonna try the best he can. Hops over to the Grump, which is adorable.
Oh.
And Team Liquid are still chasing him down. Impact, he's pretty speedy.
He might be able to jump to the scuttle. No, Phoenix gets him. Either way, a pretty good hold by Cloud9 actually. TL missed a bunch of skill shots early on in that fight, which allowed C9 to stay in that one. And that also gave Impact somehow, I think he snuck out the base gate to get that flank off, or he flashed in because he still had his teleport up. Normally you only get on a Fabi if you teleport in behind. But because TL had missed so many skill shots, Lourlo had still gone in because Phoenix thought he had the burst. They technically hold. They lose the turret, but they do not lose the game.
Well, how many more times does C9 need to do something like that before the game ends? I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. Remember, Sneaky was in base when this happened, but they changed so much CC onto Fabi, and Fabi actually used his QSS right before a Bard's done, so the CC extended. And now he has no escapes. And look at Impact. He's just waiting for his window, waiting for his window. And it looks like when Phoenix moves up to ultimate, he goes for Fabi. Phoenix actually ignores Impact. They could have killed him and saved Fabi, but Phoenix saw a bigger play. That allows Impact to get a kill off of. And then they decide to do the chase. And we've seen this all run around. He gets a nice ward in to jump to Grump. Nearly got his Blade Surge up again before jumping to Scuttle Crab, but Phoenix able to keep pace. Cuts him off, gets the kill.
Well, it's crucial time, if nothing else, for his team. But Team Liquid, so they pop out back to live. Gonna take that Mountain Drake for themselves. 2 mountains and a cloud will be all the Drakes in this game, and they all belong to Team Liquid. Baron up in a minute 30. Elder Dragon will be the next spawn in 6 minutes time. TL just taking C9's jungle for themselves, because at this point it certainly belongs to them. And Cloud9, how many more of those you got in your back pocket? You're gonna need a few.
Yeah, they're gonna need a lot of those miracle holds. I don't feel like Team Liquid will miss those shots again. Fabi is out of summoners, so he's gonna have to be very careful, but potentially more patience from TL this time.
And they're still so far ahead. Cloud9, even when they find the spots, it's kind of hard for them to leverage their position because they don't have the goal to do so. Look at Impact. I think he's healing Lourlo whenever he hits him.
Yeah.
He's just trying to clear the waves out. Lourlo's onto the inhib though.
Yeah, this is actually a little bit interesting with Baron being gone and Baron being up again in a minute. I don't know if Team Liquid would actually be able to go through unless they get a pick. The turret's so low though that they're going to continue to try.
Cosmic Binding down. Impact.
Lourlo's just coming over for the fight.
Oh, again they find Fabi and Phoenix. Bunny FuFuu making the play, but Gragas ulti doesn't find them. They're still trying to get in there though, but Jensen gets melted as Phoenix goes crazy. And the binding's in, but Meteos caught on the front side in the gravity field. Sneaky now gonna get chased down. Team Liquid gonna clean things up as Phoenix get a double kill. Buddy goes down as well. A triple for Phoenix. Flushes straight in on Impact. They might even dive the fountain. He gets snared up. They don't go too for it though. And Team Liquid gonna sail in to end the game.
They had to take the inhibitor instead. They're making sure they secure this kill, and then it's just too much tank and damage down the stretch for Team Liquid with this team fight team at the end of it. And yeah, a couple more next turrets and they got this game.
Yeah, Impact not enough to try and take this down. Team Liquid is going to charge forward and take down the Nexus. Cloud9 will finally fall as Team Liquid topple a giant to take the series.
Yeah, and C9 was looking so good last week to come into this one. This is a big upset, I feel like. Liquid taking them down. 4-4, they will improve to 5-4 with the first half of their split officially being complete right now. And the adversity they had to overcome to make this happen cannot be understated. They lost that first game badly from a kill death perspective. Double-digit kills to just one of their own. Then they bounced back only to have the game remade when they were winning by 5,000 gold. But they are undeterred. They go on to win Game 2 and Game 3 against Cloud9. And that's got to feel good.
Certainly does, and it almost feels like Liquid are the team that you do not want to make angry, because Team Liquid did the necessary response, but the most difficult one. Because placed in that situation, the most important thing to do is refocus and fight back even harder. And that series just looked more and more one-sided as Liquid played more and more games.
It really did. They seemed to be able to deconstruct what Cloud9 was doing. Every time Cloud9 went to make a big play, TL was there with an answer. And all of the two big matchups we kind of focused on was the Meteos versus Dardoch, where Dardoch was able to counter-gank Meteos in most of the situations, and then also Fenix versus Jensen, because there's so much talk about Jensen being one of the top mid laners in NA, if not the top mid laner, and I'm not saying that's not the case, but Team Liquid focused him so heavily with so many ganks that Fenix was able to prevail in a lot of these games, and when he was on Viktor, he became an unstoppable force.
And I think a lot of the things we've seen from Team Liquid have been like some bright spots, but never really come together. Beating Cloud9, given the form that they've been on recently, requires a lot of teamwork. You mentioned it. Collapsing on people with double TPs and global ultimates everywhere is no mean feat, and Liquid look more together than they ever have all split long. That is a very